pyramid. I had to do that sign because I couldn't remember what they were called. So, Pyramids is the 7th book of the Discworld series. We go to another land, and one that we don't meet again, the Jelly Baby, or to pronounce it how I think Pratchett wanted us to pronounce it, Jelly Baby. Oh, my voice is going deep. That's what happens when you got a cold. We start off in Ankh-Morpork in the Assassin's Guild. Oh, I love the Assassin's Guild. So this is I think we have heard about the Assassin's Guild before, but this is the first time we get to see inside, and it's all quite exciting. Nil motivi sin livre. Oh, I think it's lucre. The Assassin's Guild is sort of described more like a gentleman's club, more like a sort of Victorian refined place where you go and drink a posh drink. Whiskey? Is whiskey a posh drink? I don't really know. Wine and beer. I don't know, probably not beer. Anyway, so we meet our main character. I have lost, because I can remember nothing. Tepic! His name is Tepic! It's even worth reading these books before I do this thing. I might as well just Google it. Tepic. So there is a running joke in this, like with Jelly Baby, Tepic, and Tracy, of putting a letter before the word, so Tepic, Tracy, and Jelly Baby. And apparently somewhere there is a did you bring along. One thing I hadn't realised before is the word inhume. I had always assumed that inhume was a word that was used regularly and that I just hadn't used it elsewhere because I'm not an assassin. Turns out it's kind of like the opposite of exhume. So exhume is when you've got a body in the ground and you bring it out the ground. Inhume, opposite. I think it is a Pratchett only word. I don't think it's an actual real word. Apparently Pratchett had to change publishers in Germany after this book because halfway through the book there was an advertisement for soup, which I didn't realise books did adverts. Seems like quite a good idea. So I think I've done enough just random musing. So the plot generally is young Tepic is the son of the king. The king sends him off to boarding school. The king has this Grand Vizier who, like traditional Grand Viziers, is a bit power hungry and doesn't really let him make his own decisions. Doesn't really agree with Tepic going off to, I was going to say London, I meant Ankh-Morpork, to go to the guild school. Well, it gives Tepic a different view on the world than most people who've lived in the old country, which is Jelly Baby. Tepic gets through his studies, does reasonably well, gets to the end, comes home because his father's died and he's now king. This book has a lot of mysterious, sort of magic-y, old world magic about the old land and sort of this land that's been around for thousands of years, and it's all about this sort of your legacy, and it's about Tepic feels the weight of his legacy of his ancestors on him and feels like he needs to conform because he's part of this long-standing royal family, and this is one of the overarching themes which I will explain a little more about why that's bollocks. So he goes home. There's lots of misunderstandings because he has a modern way of thinking. Even though Ankh-Morpork at this point, it's before any of the Industrial Revolution books. There's not even been moving pictures. Obviously later on there's the postal service, trains, clacks, all these things. So there's lots of adventures and things, and there's definitely that big misunderstanding between the future and the past, and this very old-fashioned country. When we say old-fashioned, we mean like Egyptian-timed old-fashioned compared to a mixed up medieval / Victorian old-fashioned in Ankh-Morpork. They decided to do the biggest pyramid ever for Tepic's father, and Tepic's a bit like, what the heck? But the Grand Vizier says he has to. But it's so big that the magic of the ancestors and faffy magic stuff means that it separates the Jelly Baby from the rest of the world, and it all goes a bit bad. Tepic meets his father's favourite handmaiden, Tracy. Brilliant name. Obviously it's Tracy, not Tracy, but it's called Tracy. Tracy, because she was one of his father's favourite handmaidens, is about to be sacrificed for dead in the pyramid thing. Tepic saves her. She's a bit like, what? I wanted to go to paradise with your dad. I don't know why she's American. I went American there, sorry. But they get along, and they try to overthrow things. They need to destroy the Great Pyramid in order to save Jelly Baby. Also, Jelly Baby sort of disappears, and a Phoebe to sort without this sort of buffer zone of land between them start to fight. One thing with the Jelly Baby is I keep on calling it the Jelly Baby, sorry, it is the longest country and quite thin as well. It's quite a weirdly shaped country. So Dios, the Grand Vizier, I don't think I've actually said what his name is Dios, gets sent back through time and they save the day. Tracy becomes queen because Tracy is Tepic's half sister, is one of the king's daughters, because you have a lot of handmaids. If you're a basically Egyptian prince, you get all the handmaids. That's some winks, sorry. Jelly Baby means child of the Djel, or child of the gel. Jelly Baby. I can't say this enough. Jelly Baby. They also call it the Old Kingdom or the Kingdom of the Sun. It's 2 miles wide and 150 miles long, and through the flooding season it's mostly flooded. So it's the most relevant place to be king of, really. Probably mostly, well, it is mostly pyramids. So one of the big plot points I didn't mention in my sort of quick overview is the fact that it's basically they're bankrupting themselves by just building a shit ton of pyramids. Not a good idea, not sensible, not good. But Dijon? No, his name's not Dijon, is it? Sorry, Dion. Dios. Sorry, Dios. I don't know why I thought his name was Dijon. I thought it's a good name though. Anyway, Dios is mad, and actually it turns out he's been the Grand Vizier forever. Also, going back to the theme of legacy and having this legacy of, your ancestors. If our ancestors were alive today, they'd be saying, why is it so dark in here? Pyramids. Tepic goes back, because all this timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly timey-wimey stuff is happening, Tepic gets to go back and meet the first king of Jelly Baby. Turns out, he's a thief who's just gone there to escape because he stole a pile of stuff. For Tepic, this is a massive crushing defeat. He thought he came from this noble line of kings, but you're like, where do you think kings start? Like, someone has to be the first king, and really they're going to be the first king because they took over some land. It's not going to be because God came down and shone light on them. So he gets some hard truths. As things changed, and him and his father, probably his grandfather, all felt this weight of this kingship because of Dios, and the way Dios, just never aging, is a bit of a twat. Going back to the time thing, Pratchett uses a few different types of time travel. This one is they keep reusing the same day, so although it's not like Groundhog Day, they just keep reusing the same bit of time and sort of wearing it thin because of the pyramids. It's just weird. Pratchett obviously plays again with time in Thief of Time and with the history monks, and again, we'll get to that when we get to that. Another thing that Dios makes Tepic do is wear this mask, and whenever he speaks to his people, they just turn to Dios and they don't listen to Tepic, and it's all quite, again, similar to, as I talked in Weird Sisters about how Pratchett was talking about power and how what people believe is the power rather than the power. You don't have your own power as such. The people believe what they want to believe. Tepic has people come to him with things like, this pig belongs to me. No, this pig belongs to me. And he can go, well, you pay him some money and you keep the pig. And then Dios just says, well, you both die and we get the pig. We get the pig. And the people believe Dios because they've grown to not believe the king. Of course the king is cruel. Again, basically, it's what people believe, and people believe rubbish, basically, and things that are not good for them. Yeah, I'm talking to you. So I am just having a little squidgy in this book, and apparently a correctly built pyramid is to achieve absolute null time in the central chamber, so that a dying king basically stays in a state of stasis and never actually die. And that's why the pyramids flare, is because each day they need to flare out all the time that they're using up. Absolute weird. So Tepikaimon, Tepic's father, the one who dies at the beginning, again, death at the beginning, near the beginning of a book, is the 1397th monarch of Jelly Baby. What I quite like is he's described as quite intelligent, and I think he was, because he sent his son away rather than just being another king with another king. He realised he might be able to break the cycle by sending his son away, I'm assuming. As we had a similar sort of thing in the last book where the dead dad comes back as a ghost. He's around as a ghost. There's quite a few, keeps on going back to him being mummified and him not wanting to be mummified and him watching his son and going, please don't make the same mistakes as me. And his son, well, ultimately doesn't. So it's good. It's good, really. I find it really funny that the reason Dios didn't like the idea of Tepic going to the assassin school is that he doesn't agree with any kind of secular education with someone who one day is going to be a god. There's also a pile of Ephebian philosophers here. We have Ibid, who's quite a repetitive philosopher. We also have Pythagoral, which is Pythagoras. And there is Aesop, so like Aesop but with an L at the beginning, who It's basically Aesop with lots of fables and stuff. So actually, there's only three characters who... There's two characters that are mentioned in other books and three characters that actually appear in other books. You have Zeno and Ibid, who do appear in Small Gods. Then you have Death, obviously appears in almost every book. Also, Princess Kelly is mentioned, as well as Dr. Cruz, who is the head of the Assassin's Guild in this book before Downey. I think Cruz is the one who's killed by the gun in Men at Arms with the gun. I haven't read it yet. I am not that far ahead of myself yet. So actually, it's very far removed from the vast majority of other books. I think Jelly Baby is mentioned elsewhere, but it's really a bit cut off, which is quite cool. I quite like it, because a lot of the other standalone books then became non-standalone books after a while. So we're really properly into Pratchett now. This one I had trouble with because, again, really bad quality audiobooks. Someone needs to redo these audiobooks. It's just really annoying. I have listened to Eric, and Eric is actually listenable to. So I'm going to enjoy the next few a lot more because I can actually hear the words. This one has mostly 4-star reviews on Goodreads and has a 3.91. I'm a bit sad about that one. I actually preferred this one to... do I prefer it from Weird Sisters? It's hard to tell, really. They're both pretty good. I'm really starting to enjoy myself. Oh, also, I do just really like the beginnings of that Victorian gentleman's clubness of the Assassin's Guild, and it comes back again and again with this sort of... those sort of class wars, because when you look at Lancre, that's very much a working class, countryside, northern thing, whereas the gentlemen's clubs feel... If you've been in even a modern day gentleman's club, it's a different sort of people. This was a good one. This was a really good one. So I'm rambling now. Anyway, I'll see you next time for Guards. Bye!